Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm on Facebook and YouTube. If you're new here, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm on here, I used to say every day. I was on here every single day, but not as much lately. I'm just really busy right now. Okay, just a sec here. Just setting up. Okay. Whoops. Okay. So I'm all organized now. I wasn't on here Friday because I was out visiting my little granddaughter, and she's 2 months old, and she likes to be held and walked. Not just held and rocked, but you have to walk. So I thought, well, she's only 2 months old. I can outsmart her. So I thought I'll stand and I'll just sort of stomp my feet like I'm walking. She picked up on it right away. Oh, they're so funny. Anyway, total joy. Love being a grandmother. Okay, so imagine that. I thought if I rock enough and stomp, she'll think I'm walking. She was so quick to pick up on that. Not happy about that. Anyway, says nice try, Grandma. Okay, can't outsmart her. Okay, now let's get going with your parenting questions. If you have any, now's a good time to ask because it's quiet and it can get pretty busy and I don't get to all the questions. So that's why it's kind of nice to ease into it. So if you have any parenting questions, that's what I'm here for. You can go on the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I don't always have days where I can take new people on because I'm pretty busy these days. So if you want to hire me for coaching, you have to send me an email, tell me why you want to work with me, and I will prioritize people in crisis. And then some days I can take pretty much everybody. But anyway, so that's about it. Something else I was going to say. No, I think that's it. Anyway, just waiting for your parenting questions. Yeah, I haven't been on here for a couple days. Yesterday, the reason I didn't do a live yesterday, so I was visiting my granddaughter Friday. Then yesterday, a construction guy was here, and they were painting the apartment doors. So you had to leave your door wide open a whole afternoon. It was quite intrusive. You're just sitting here, and neighbors are walking by. Hello. We got a very friendly building, luckily. Okay, I'm just waiting for your parenting questions. It's like I'm in the twilight zone. How come no one's asking questions? It's unusual. Usually it gets pretty busy. Okay, I'll just sit here and wait. Are you new here? Is that why you're not asking questions? If people don't ask questions here, I'll just move right over to Instagram because I'm on YouTube the whole time, but I always go from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. The reason I do it that way is alphabetical order. It just makes it easier for me. Sometimes I'll get mixed up if I don't do it that way. How come I'm not getting any comments? That's really strange. Like that's never happened before. Do you have any questions? Did I do something wrong? It's live. Yeah, live. That is really weird. How come there's no questions coming in? Huh. Why is that? Do you just not have any questions or is it not working? By the way, if you got my behavior board in the last 24 hours, Podia, which is the platform where I have all my courses and the behavior board, that for some reason glitched out and said that there was some unlawful activity on my platform. I think because so many people were signing up, they thought I must have done some spammy thing or something. Anyway, so it was shut down for a while, but you should have got your behavior board by now. Why am I not getting any comments or questions? It's not looking the way it normally does. Usually I can see the names of people who come in. There's like 42 people here and I haven't had one question. I suspect something's wrong. I'm afraid of hitting buttons because, okay. Are you asking questions and they're just not turning up? There, I got one. What was going on there? It's never happened before. Yeah, now it's coming in. That is bizarre. Okay, Facebook also changed the way that they do lives now. You have to go into a different place to start the live, so I'm wondering if that's it. Okay, let's just get going with your question. Anyway. My son naps great at daycare, but trouble sleeping at home. At daycare, it's that kind of social pressure. Everyone's napping there. There's nothing to do. They probably turn the lights down. They know at home that you'll probably entertain them if they don't nap. So that could be it. I don't know. You see lots of questions. Yeah, now they're coming in, but they weren't before. It was just weird. Like that's never happened before. Okay, how do you get a teen out of bed in the morning who just won't get up? Yeah, that's a coaching thing. There's no easy answer. The reason is I need to know your relationship with your teenager. I need to set you up as a parent who knows how to handle teenagers first. And then we go to work on how to get them out of bed. You can't, if you don't know how to handle a teenager, you can't get them out of bed. But once I teach you, then we negotiate with them. We set up that reciprocity. You give respect to get it. And then you got to give first. And then you can start asking for stuff in return. But yeah, it's tricky. Teenagers are tricky. I'm going to read out my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers, which if you've been watching me for a while, you know they're my favorite age. I started this business 17 years ago and I started specializing in teen crisis work. So they are my favorite age. Okay, this is my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If you want them to talk to you, you just listen to understand. You don't lecture them. They'll stop talking to you. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? It's not a blanket statement. You don't do it with everything, but do it with as much as possible. And number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. Getting them out of bed in the morning, that's not small stuff. But yeah, you save your energy for the big stuff. The thing is that whenever people hire me and they've got teenagers, I always warn them. And now they're actually, when they first turn up in the first session, they say, I know I'm going to hate you in the first session, because I always say, you're going to hate me in the first session. It's all about you. I got to explain to you how you're going to have to change your parenting, how you have to make amends to your teenager. And I always say, it's not fair, it's not reasonable, but it has to be done. So you have to give a lot before you expect to get with teenagers. Yes, first session's a bit nasty, because we're not going to address anything you want to address. How could we? You're not prepared for it yet. But yeah, anyway. I just laugh because parents often say, I know I'm going to hate you in this first session. Yeah, I know. You've been watching my lives. Okay. My daughter is 8 and she has these fits where she clings to me and all the things. And all what things? Sorry, I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean. And all the things. I don't know what you mean. 15-year-old just moved here from mothers who had no rules in his first grade math level. I think I need one-on-one. So this is a 15-year-old with first grade math level. Yeah, you're going to need one-on-one. Teenage stuff, I have no idea. Plus, that's a bit of a specialty, like not specialty, but they're coming from another home. I got to assess the situation, where they were coming from. Although I don't use that a lot, believe it or not. I work on you and your leadership. And also, I always say with teenage, okay, your leadership skills are at the height when they're 3 to 12 years old. When they're 13 plus, you want them to be more the leader with the small stuff. You be the leader with the big stuff. And even then, you got to tread carefully with teenagers, because they're exercising their own freedom. They think they're very mature, even though you're paying all the bills, usually cleaning up after them all the time. They still seem to think that they're independent, and it's hilarious. Doesn't make any sense, but they're exercising all this free, you know what I mean? Like they're just sort of growing up, and it's part of it. It's just part of it. You were probably like that too. So anyway, yeah, you'd have to hire me for that, because I don't know what kind of parent you are and what kind of relationship you have with your teenager. I work on the relationship. Number 1, work on your relationship with your teenager. I get emails pretty much every day about teenagers, and they're just distraught over what's going on. And they always talk about what their teenager's doing wrong. They really, sometimes they do. They'll talk about what they're doing wrong, but it really, all we can work on is you. We can't work on your teenager. We work on you. And once they start to respect you more, yeah, things get easier. Okay. I just told the story. Most of you weren't here, but it was just so freaking cute. I don't talk a lot about my personal life, but I do have a 2-month-old granddaughter. It's my first grandchild. So the other day I was over there, and they're doing a great job with her. She's just a doll. Anyway, she likes to be walked constantly when she's in a mood. You know, she's just not settled, right? And she's 2 months old. She wants to be walked. So you have to walk with her. So I thought, and after about an hour of this, and she was a bit fussy. She wasn't going, she needed to sleep, but she was fighting it, right? So I'm walking her. Then I thought, well, she's only 2 months old. I can outsmart her, right? So that's what I was thinking. So I thought, if I just stand still and go like this, but stomp my feet a little bit, she'll think I'm walking. Like that, she picked up on it and started fussing. She knew right away, I guess because the room wasn't changing much. So she knew. I thought, I'm only 63. I thought I could outsmart a 2-month-old. My granddaughter's always is already outsmarting her grandmother. I thought, boy, oh boy. I'm so impressed with that. Yeah, she's got me figured out. By the way, I always say with babies, with children, you meet their needs and you manage their wants. With babies, you meet their needs and you meet their wants. They're just babies. They're going to be babies for such a short period of time. If they want to be walked constantly, and if you can do it, right? If you can do it. But yeah. How do I repair a fractured relationship with my child? That's a very big question. If they're 3 to 12 years old, I don't know how fractured it is and why it is. But let's say it's just that it's not a great relationship. You can look up my boot camp course. That might be all you need. That's all for general stuff that most parents are dealing with. If you're next level, like red zone, something awful's going on, you really want one-on-one help, that would be coaching. You have to send me an email. Tell me why you want to work with me, but check it out first. Check the price. Check out how it works. See if it's for you. And then send me an email saying, do you have time to fit me in? Because I can't always take people in. If you want to work with me, don't do that if you don't want to work with me, because there's no point. And then I could look into it. But the boot camp course might be all you need, 3 to 12 years old. I feel like I'm going to get the hiccups. I had the hiccups so bad once when I was doing a live. I hope I don't get it today. Okay. How do I get my 7-year-old to stop screaming and throwing tantrums? Set yourself up as a leader, and that generally doesn't happen. I don't know why a 7-year-old would still be doing that. Usually the tantrums stop at about 3.5 to 4. If you're a leader, they do. So it just tends to calm them down, because past the age of 4, they only do what works. So tantrums must be working. There must be some payoff for that. So long as you're meeting their needs, right? So you meet their needs and manage their wants. So they're not liking you managing their wants. Their wants are the discipline, but are you meeting their needs? I have to assess all that if you're really struggling, but the boot camp course might be all you need. Sets you up as a leader. It's 5 weeks, sets you up as a leader. If you try to get my behavior board in the last 24 hours, Podia, which is the platform where I have all my courses, for some reason, they flagged me down as, I guess I was getting so many signups or something that they just thought I was spamming. I don't do that, right? So anyway, they apologized and they're back up. You weren't getting the behavior board for about 12 hours. You should have seen all the messages I was getting. Anyway, so yeah, sorry about that. You should be able to get it now. But yeah, they were very apologetic. I'm quite happy to move over to another platform if that happens again. I was not happy about that. Because it's consistent. It's not like one day I got thousands more than normal. It was just, but anyway, I'm not complaining about them so much, but yeah, they did apologize. Anyway, that's why you didn't get the behavior board right away, because of that. They said it was going to be retroactive, so you would get it once they took that flag off my account. Anyway, I'm just letting you know if you tried to get one. I will take this time to thank you for all your knowledge. I want to say I'm pretty good at this parenting stuff, but this is pretty much, everyone has something they're good at. I'm not good at a lot of other stuff. You should see me with dogs. Oh my God, they walk all over me. I'm useless. And it's funny because people think, oh, well, you must be so in charge in your personal life and with dogs and animals. And that. No, I'm not at all. I'm very much a follower in my personal life. I don't want to know where we're going. I want you to order food for me. I don't want to make any decisions. I'm very much a follower in my personal life. And with dogs and animals, they completely run all over me. I have no control whatsoever. I've had animals my whole life, like pets. I usually have 2 dogs at a time. And they're spoiled rotten and I have no control over them. So it's funny, isn't it? You'd think that I would be good at that, but nope, not at all. Horrible. So yeah, I'm very knowledgeable in this one area, just this one area, parenting. Lots of questions. Yeah, they're coming in now. It was something was going on. It was glitching. Okay, 3-year-old is having major anger issues when he doesn't get his way. That's okay. It's okay that they get upset. It's how you deal with it. Check out my boot camp course. That might be perfect for you because it sets you up as a leader. Remember, we're never changing anyone else. We're not fixing kids here. We're teaching you how to be leaders. Once you're a leader and you get good at it should take about 5 weeks before you 3 to 4 weeks, and you'll start to kind of get it. You'll go, oh, I get it now. I'm starting to feel the power, right? So, but by the end of that 5-week course, you should be able to have some real leadership skills underneath your belt. And at that point, it tends to calm the kids down. So, but yeah, there's still 3, and yeah. What consequences would you give when my 4-year-old refuses to do what they are asked? Make your bed. Okay, follow chore chart on the behavior board. The behavior board is completely free. And the rule is follow chore chart. And then you have a little chart underneath and there's maybe 2 or 3 things. How old? 4-year-old. Maybe 2 or 3 things. Make your bed, put your shoes in the cubby when you come home, and put your dirty dishes in the sink. And you always put a time limit. Within 5 minutes of getting home, within 5 minutes of finished eating, you always have to have a time limit or else they'll say, yeah, I'll make it later. No, it has to be within 5 minutes. Anyway, So just have a little chore chart. And if they don't follow the chore chart, just say, okay, so let's go to the board. You always go back to the board. Okay, let's go to the board, and you didn't follow the chore chart, so here's the consequence. Check it out. That behavior board's completely free. It explains it all, how you do that. But yeah, it's not a matter of, like, you don't really tell them what to do. You just set down the boundaries and the rules in the house, and then if they choose not to follow them, there's a consequence. It's up to them. I always told my kids, it's your choice. My son hated that. It's your choice, sweetie. You can follow the rules or not. It's totally your choice. But he knew if he didn't, I would have a consequence. And I was never angry with that. I'd just say, okay, well, you didn't follow the rules, so what do you think the consequence should be? He'd usually come in with something tougher, and I'd say, that's too much. Just brush my hair for 5 minutes. So they just understood that they're accountable for what they do, what they say, how they act. They learned that from a really young age. My kids are about 3.5, and they were pretty much self-disciplining. They just understood it's up to them. My 8-year-old is very disrespectful and throws fits and screams in our face. Our relationship is awful. Any advice? Yeah, check out my boot camp course. That is about your leadership. That just generally doesn't happen when you're a leader. They look up to a leader. A leader knows how to bring out the best in kids. That's what it's all about. You make them like themselves, and they have pride in themselves, and they tend to respect themselves and others, and they look up to you. They want to please you. 3 to 12 years old, you're at the height of your leadership. That is 3 to 12 years old. Their behavior is a direct result, 100% of your parenting. It's a direct result of your parenting. 3 to 12. Under the age of 3, they're just nuts anyway. And 13 and above, they're spreading their wings a bit more. They're not. It's not all about you anymore in your leadership. You're still there for the big stuff, though, and they still care what you think. They don't want to disappoint you. You don't want a 17-year-old to want to please you all the time. That you want them to want to please themselves, be their own leaders, but you're there for backup. Yeah, check out the boot camp course. That's 5 weeks. It's all about leadership. Yeah, navigating electronics and phones is the hardest part of the teen stage for us. Okay, I don't know how old they are. Anyway, teens, are they 13? Are they 18? It's a little bit more difficult when they get older. Anyway, okay, so here's how you manage media. There's 3 different ways of managing media. Media is any screens. So media management, I call it, or screen time management, whatever. Let's just call it media management. So there's 3 different ways of managing that. You can have an allotted time every single day when they can have screens. Let's say between 7 and 10 if it's a teenager. I don't know. It's a little bit strict to do it that way. I don't like it. Or they can have, let's just say 10 hours a week is how we're going to do it. But let's say it's just like 1 hour. You can have 1 hour a day or 1.5 hours a day. But I like to do 10 hours a week. Let's say that's the amount you've picked. And you say, okay, you have a weekly allotted time, and I'm just randomly picking 10 hours. Okay, it could be 15, could be 5. I don't know. Anyway, so you say, okay, here, I've written down all the minutes. So I'm going to keep track of when you're on screens, but you can, whenever you want, within a certain reasonable time, right? They can't get up at 2 in the morning and look at screens. You're charging them in your master bedroom usually, by the way. That's why they don't have them at night. So anyway, that's where the charging station should be, in your bedroom. So anyway, so you say, okay, so here's the allotted time that you have every single week, and it's up to you to decide when you use it. If you're not good at this leadership, they don't trust you to follow through with this. So usually what they'll do is they'll use up all their screen time by, let's say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's all gone. And then they're going to be horrible Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with 0 screens, 0. And you got to stick by that. You got to stick by it. It's going to be hell. But the thing is, the bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. So, and I would have said, if that happens, I would say, well, that was your choice. Remember, I said 10 hours a week. They just don't trust that you're going to follow through with that. But you got to follow through. When you say something, you have to follow through. That's why you got to choose your battles very carefully. Very carefully. Anyway. If that's all you're dealing with, you don't have to hire me. But if you're dealing with other teen stuff, you might want to look into coaching. But if it's just that screen time, that usually works, that one. You say don't sweat the small stuff with teens. My 50-year-old will not shower or brush teeth. To me, it's not, well, I didn't say that was a small thing. You got to negotiate that. You say, look, I'm going to do a sniff test. You can have your screens or your phone after the sniff test, but you don't start there. You gotta work on some other stuff first. You got to get some respect going with your teenager first. You got to work on the relationship first, and then I would do it like that. If you have a good relationship with your teenager and they're just not showering or brushing their teeth, I'm going to say, look, hygiene's important. From now on, I want you to shower and brush your teeth. I'll hold your phone until it's done, and I'll do a sniff test. You can try that. If all hell breaks loose, you want to hire me. Because I don't usually start there. But if you're already got a good relationship, that might be all you need. So kind of use humor, like I'll do a sniff test. What consequence would you give for complaining or whining? Absolutely none. That's in the attitude department. You never address attitude. It takes care of itself when you're a leader. Their attitude just improves when you're a leader. You can't address attitude. It would be like trying to discipline an eye roll. Like, I saw that eye roll, you're going to sweep the floor now. That's ridiculous. You don't address that stuff. You just ignore that. You just kind of ignore that stuff. But once you're a leader, it goes away. Like, everyone's so quick to want to fix their kids, but really it's fixing you. It's fixing your parenting. It's all about you. Yeah. Remember once years ago, God, it was a long time ago, I got hired by this family, and I said that. I wasn't as prevalent on social media back like 17 years ago. And but I was doing a lot of TV, and I talked a bit different back then. It was more politically correct. People weren't really ready to hear all this at that time because this please your parent style was just everywhere. And it's a total disaster. But anyway, that's why it's kind of going out of style now. Finally. Oh, they hated that because it was just a disaster at school. Anyway, but I said to the parent, they hired me, and my child does this and that and does that. And I said, well, that's all related to how you're parenting. Oh, was she mad? Oh, she was so mad. And I thought, wow, who does she love more, herself or her kids? She'd rather blame her kids than herself. I said that to her too. Anyway, she ended up doing okay. But yeah. Oh, it's funny. Oh, she did not like that. Too bad. She had to hear it. Okay. How do you separate consequences and chores? If my kids get told to do something as a consequence, they complain. How do you separate consequences and chores? What do you mean? They should have chores anyways, but a consequence can be an extra chore. So I don't know what you mean. All kids should have chores. You live here, you have to contribute to the house. And I would never pay for chores. But I think all children deserve to get allowance for doing nothing. They deserve to learn how to manage and spend money wisely and carefully. So yeah, it's not much. It's not a big allowance, but yeah, all their gift money goes into the pool. I've got lots of videos on that if you're interested. You got to separate allowance and chores. But yeah, a consequence would be an extra chore. The free behavior board, that is in the link above. Everything's in that one link. I'm pretty sure, I don't know how, I don't do my social media, someone else does, but it's in the description or something. There's a link, just look it up. They either might be separate links, but I don't think though. I think they're all one link, and leads to all my services and products are on one page. My website's a bit different, but it's on Podia. That's the platform where I have all of my information, where you can just land there. That's the link that should be above, and it's self-explanatory. The Bratbusters behavior board is completely free. Okay. No, the boot camp isn't free. That's a 5-week course. The behavior board's free. So it goes free behavior board, mini toddler courses, boot camp course, and then coaching. They're more intensive and more money, right? So, but the behavior board's free, and coaching is the most, because that's one-on-one with me. I can't take everyone these days. I'm really busy, so you have to look it up and decide if you really want to. And let me know what you have to send me an email for that. Anything different for ADHD kids? This is where I learned all this stuff with them. I worked with hundreds of kids. I didn't learn much with my own kids. They didn't have any special challenges, but it was all those ADHD. I used to call them alphabet kids, ADHD, WXYZ. So, they'd often come to me, like I was like the mentor, and they'd be sent to me. So we'd work together on their schoolwork or whatever, and I was there to sort of calm them down. And they would come up to me. I always thought this was kind of sad. They'd come up to me and they said, okay, I have ADHD, ODD, and possibly this, and I'm on Ritalin or whatever. And they'd tell me all this. And I said, I don't care. By the way, my name's Lisa. Like, I never discuss any of that stuff. It became part of their identity. I found that quite sad. They were telling me everything that's wrong with them, basically. And I said, I don't care. deal with the person, not the diagnosis. I could figure that, and I could figure it out pretty quick anyway. I don't need to be told that stuff. So I got to scroll ahead because I missed people come and go, so I want to get the most recent questions. Okay. Okay, how can I be a leader? I'm a stay-at-home mom and I got a 2.5-year-old. If you want to be a leader with a 2.5-year-old, you're just sort of building blocks right now. It's not going to happen right away. It doesn't really work till they hit 3, but they're watching you. So it kind of clicks at 3. You're still building blocks. Like whenever I get parents of toddlers in coaching, we're sort of building blocks for tomorrow. We're investing in tomorrow. And the kids are watching you. You play in their world. That's one of the best things you can do. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Like if parents hire me and they've got toddlers, I say, well, you're not going to be a leader for a toddler because they're not ready to listen. They don't have that sense of reasoning. They can't stop and think before they act. And that's what leadership requires, that the kids can stop and think before they act. But you're building blocks, okay? You're building a base for it all. Anyway, this is my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You watch how they play and you join in. You don't go to the nail salon with a 2-year-old. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. That's part of leadership. They start to look at you differently because you've entered their world. It's respect. Number 4, it's kind of similar. When you're disciplining a toddler, none of these mini therapy sessions discussing big feelings and big emotions, that's garbage. That's for you. That's not for your toddler. That is not respecting them because that is not their world. Their world is actions. You use consistent corrective actions with toddlers, not words. It's not their world. Anyway, and then number 5, I was going to go on a rant about that. You know how much I hate all that mini therapy session stuff. Because it was invented to make the mom feel good about herself. It has nothing to do with the toddler. Number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in there. They're just forming. I always call them crazy, but they just haven't developed sanity yet, okay? Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like they're just forming, okay? I got to get going. I'm moving over to Instagram now. I'm on YouTube the whole time. And I got to bump over to Instagram now. That's a really busy live usually. And so is TikTok. So this is my quieter live, but it's picking up now. I think I've got quite a few new. I don't do my social media, so I never know how many people are following. But anyway, I'm not good at all that stuff. That's why I don't do it. So anyway, if you want to follow me over to Instagram, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching or look into it. You have to apply for it because I can't take everyone these days. I'm pretty busy. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'm going to Instagram now. Happy parenting. Bye now. There we go. Okay, YouTube. 10-year-old doesn't do homework. Is that behavior board worthy or natural consequence? Be natural consequence. Natural consequence. I don't know what you mean by natural consequences. Put it on the behavior board. Do your homework. Or you can use incentive. Actually, 10-year-old. I might just say, look, I'm going to hang on to your phone till your homework's done. It's not a punishment. It's just incentive. You want your phone, you got to do your homework first. So yeah, you might want to just try that. It's kind of an easy solution. It might work. It might not. If you're withholding a phone from a 10-year-old and you're not a leader, that could cause some tension too. So I don't know what's going on there. You might want to check out the boot camp course. If that doesn't work, check out the boot camp course. That might be all you need. Grunting, eye roll, foot stomping, sassy, 7-year-old. Okay, that's all you. So work on your leadership skills. That just doesn't happen. That kind of it because they only do what works. If all that stuff, if a 7-year-old is doing that kind of stuff like a 2-year-old would, it just says to me it works. Gets under your skin. It bothers you. You might give in just to get it to stop. I don't know why it's working, but it has to be, unless the child has some special, challenges. But otherwise, if they're just a healthy, normal kid, you know what I mean. That just means that it's working. Work on your leadership skills. Check out the boot camp course, and that's all about you and your leadership. Okay, it's paced out over 5 weeks. Do not rush that course at all. But I do suggest you read through the whole thing first, and it's evergreen. It's not going to expire or anything. So just read through the whole thing first, and then because it has a whole bunch of different sort of lessons in each, for different stages. So, but look through the whole thing because there's all sorts of information thrown into each week that doesn't pertain to each week. It just might be how to do allowance or something else. But do not rush that course. You can stretch it out by a week or two, but do not rush it. It's paced out very specific. Okay. We tried your bedtime course. Our son still screams hours at bedtime every night for 9 months now. We put him back in his room 100 times. Okay. Oh, someone gave me sunglasses. Ooh, cool. Anyway, or did I do that? Never know what's going on here. No, I could have done that. Anyway, yeah, you might need next level stuff. You know those little mini toddler courses? They're great. They work. But if you've got other big stuff going on in the house, like you're really not a leader, you're a follower, can I get rid of those sunglasses? Can anyone else see those? I quite like that. Did I do that? Or did someone else do that to me? I don't understand all this. Anyway, so yeah, you might need the, I just get the behavior board, try that, or the boot camp course. Because yeah, that shouldn't be happening. The thing is that those little, all this stuff works, but if there's some different like next level stuff going on, you might need coaching, or you might need to go up to the boot camp course. See what I'm saying? So there's other stuff probably going on. Plus, if you're giving in with everything else, why have I got those sunglasses? If you're giving in with everything else, but you're trying to stay strong with that bedtime course, it probably won't work. Does that make sense? Can I get rid of those glasses? Or can everyone see those glasses, or is it just me? Nice specs. Okay. I accidentally put a filter on. Oh, how do you get rid of a filter? Kind of like it, actually. How the heck did I do that? What does a filter look like? I don't want to touch anything, though, because I'm probably mess it up. Does it really matter? Sorry about that. I'm going to have specs on. Sorry about that. Well, it's just the person who does my videos is going to be stuck with that. That's the problem. So, because they take my videos from the lives. So I probably should try. Oh, there we go. Oh, I got rid of it. Oh, look at me. I'm so proud of myself. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. Sorry about that. But my person who does my videos, they don't want that on there for sure. How interesting. I don't know what you mean by this. My 4-year-old lacks social skills due to poor immune system. I don't know what that means. Poor immune system. You mean they were held back and they didn't have yeah, they can. Okay. Let's just go with this. Let's say that they weren't socialized a lot because they have a very delicate immune system, so they were held back socially. So they'll learn very quickly. Other kids will teach them social skills very quickly. Kids who do inappropriate things in that, they learn from other kids very quickly because kids don't take stuff like that. So yeah, once you put them out there in the world with other kids, they'll learn skills. You can't teach them that. It's their peers that teach them socialization. Yikes, 2-year-old gets out of car seat when driving. There are actually things that you can buy. I know some clients have bought these where it's like a safety thing. It's like a vest and you put it on top of the car seat so they can't get access to the buckle. So I would invest in that for sure because that's frightening. You can't have that happen. 5-year-old doesn't care about the consequences. Yeah, they do. There's always something. I can always find leverage. Yeah, you got to find something there. Sometimes we have to invent leverage. I don't discuss that on here because it's sort of, I think it's kind of mean to do, but a 5-year-old, you can find it usually. But if they're really older and you don't have any leverage, we'll invent it. I don't discuss that here because it is next level. I don't do that in coaching, but I don't think you need that. You can usually find something. There's usually something that they like. Okay. Do you have a course on potty training? Yeah, that's my potty party course. That's a mini toddler course. It's up in the link above. That was my very first course. It was actually a book years ago. Now it's got videos thrown into. Tell you a funny story. I used to do a lot of TV and radio back in the day. And I went to do, it was breakfast TV here in Vancouver. And I turned up and they had like a real toilet on the stage for me to work with talking about potty training. And I thought, yeah, I'm really classy, aren't I? Working with a toilet on TV. I mean, it was fun. We had fun with it. It was funny, but just struck me as funny. I thought, yeah, I'm classy. Yeah. Oh, you did see the glasses. Yeah, I just hit the wrong button. I had to hit the smiley face and sort of up in the top right. Well, that's what worked anyway. Okay, sorry, I have to scroll ahead because people come and go, and I don't want to, if they've already left, I don't want to answer their question. 3-year-old spitting. Okay, put they're 3 years old. I would put no spitting on the behavior board, and whenever they do, they might spit 20 times a day. So there's two different ways you deal with it. If they only spit once a day, you always have two consequences. So if they spit once in a day, you say, okay, so now you have to do a chore because you spit, and put that. You'll see the behavior board that's free up above there. The behavior board. So the rule is no spitting. If they do, they have to do a chore. Now, let's say they spit several times in a day. I would say, okay, so remember, if you spit, the chore, your consequence is that chore. I'll tell you what, we're going to go to the second consequence. So media blackout. It's usually media blackout. You take something away for 24 hours. A favorite toy. It could be their Lego. You never take anything comforting away, though. Not like a comfort toy or like, plushie or anything. But you take their favorite thing away. It's usually media, 24-hour media blackout if they have spit all day long. So yeah, we're going to do 24-hour media blackout starts now. Parents always say to me, what about if they keep spitting during the media blackout? Just say, that's why you've got media blackout. Like, there's nothing you can do. Once you're already disciplining, you can't keep disciplining. It's already happening. And it's kind of a free ride for them, but they are still learning because they got media blackout. By the way, when you do media blackout with your kids, or when they have it, do it with them. That's your time to bond with them. So let's say you have a 10-year-old, they got media blackout for 24 hours and they are mad. But it was their fault. They chose to break the rule. They chose not to do the first consequence. Now they've got media blackout. So as soon as they calm down, this is what I would say. Oh, do you want to play a game or something? No, I hate you. I hate you. Never mind. When they calm down, you ready for that game now? You do it with them and you're always trying to bond with them. There's no anger. You're not mad at them. They've already been punished. Now you're trying to connect with them and bond with them. They may never play a game with you. They may never go to the park with you or whatever you're offering, trying to connect with them. That's okay. It's all about you and putting yourself out there. That's what a loving leader does that. Okay, take the high road. I know you're mad at them. I know they're a pain in the butt and they're all snarly. That's okay. Take the high road. When they're on the low road, it's even more important that you take the high road. So yeah, you ready? You want to read a book? No, I hate you. I hate you. You're horrible. Okay, never mind. Then as soon as they calm down, you ready for that book now? You see how you're just calm as anything? Don't try and talk them into it, though. Just offer it. It's funny because parents say, because I do a lot of this in coaching, and they say, and they kind of laugh at me when I do that. And then they say they do it with their kids, and their kids are so confused. But then they often do end up playing a game with them. So yeah, that media blackout, that's your time to bond with them and connect. Hey, we got no screens. I'm doing it with you. Do you want to play a game? Offer that. You got a 2-year-old rough in the playground pushing others how to handle this. You just say no and pull them out and have them sit with you for a couple of minutes. And then let them go, watch them like a hawk, though. You don't want other kids to get pushed over so that just you can teach a kid a lesson. You interfere before they do it next time. So say no when you see them going for another kid, and then you bring them back with you. It's not timeout because you're sitting with them. Timeout is when they're in a corner by themselves thinking about what they did wrong. They're not. I hate timeout. Timeout is they're just sitting there feeling like crap about themselves. It's horrible. I think it's mean. Yeah, you just take them away from the fun. You remove the fun from them or remove them from the fun. When they're little. It's all about consistent corrective actions with toddlers. They're not going to learn the first time. Might take 50 or 100 times. They learn through repetition. You got to be consistent. If you do it right like 99 times and you do it wrong one time, you let them hit and don't even do anything, they'll remember that one time. They just do. Remember, my son was, 17 or 18, and we were laughing at all the dumb things I've done, all the mistakes I've done as a mother, and we all do it, right? We're laughing at them. And then I said, what about all the great stuff I've done, right? And he goes, what? It's funny how they file away all the dumb things you've done. Oh, I thought that was funny. What about the great stuff I've done as a mother? I've been a wonderful mother. What? Okay. Weaning advice for 20-month-old from breastfeeding. That's not a medical issue, but I don't get into this too much. If you really want to breastfeed, it's just got to be cold turkey. Stop breastfeeding. I did that with my daughter. My son weaned himself at 10 months old. He wanted to just be looking around with a bottle. He was bringing my boob with him everywhere. It was agony. So finally I thought, I'm just going to express and give him a bottle. Oh my God, we were both so happy after that. He was 10 months old. My daughter just wanted to curl up with me. She wanted to breastfeed all day. So at 14 months old, I decided I was going to wean her. And we were on holidays, so my husband was around at the same time. And what I did was I never sat down and I wore different clothes. So I was not accessible. And I said, no more. And then I also bought her sippy cups So I had something to replace it with. So no more. And then here's your sippy cup. And then dad would be the one to feed her. So, but yeah, I didn't sit down. If I sat down, she would beeline it for me because she'd try and lift my top, right? But yeah, just cold turkey. If they have the boobs sometimes, but not others, it can be confusing. Why do I only get it at nap time or at nighttime? But yeah. My voice is going and I haven't even been talking much today. Sometimes I'll be coaching all day long and then I'll do a live and my voice still holds out. And yet today I don't know why it's going. I'm just going to tell this story again because I thought it was so cute. I told it on Facebook, and if you're on YouTube, you've heard it. Anyway, sorry. I was on Friday. I went out and saw my granddaughter, and she's 2 months old now. So her mom, she's doing such a great job with her. Anyway, so I said, well, as soon as she handed her over, she started crying. 2 months old. So I handed her back to the mom. I said, show me what she wants because they change all the time, right? Show me what she wants. So she showed me how to hold her and she goes, she likes to be walked around because she was just fussing, right? It was that time of the day. She needed to sleep, but she didn't want to. So anyway, she was fussy and she said she likes to be walked around. So the mom was off doing chores and getting stuff done while grandma's holding the baby, right? So about an hour of walking around, I started feeling a little bit sore. My hands were cramping up and I thought, she's only 2 months old. I'll bet I can outsmart her. I'll just stand here rocking her, but I'll stomp my feet like I'm walking. Instantly, she picked up on it and started crying. How did she know? I guess she noticed the ceiling wasn't changing. I don't know, but I thought, wow, that was okay, sorry, grandma's sorry. So I had to keep walking and moving. But yeah, she likes to be walked around. Walk me, please. She's only 2 months old. Oh, they're so funny. Okay. Oh, I love being a grandmother. Okay, tip for a 3-year-old very attached to me. Whenever my husband tries to do something with them, he's a wonderful father. A son says, no, mommy, my best friend, I want her type thing. Yeah, that's just control. It's like, I want mom. Just say, no, mom's busy. You're stuck with dad. Or the dad should just say, no, you're stuck with me. Say it very finally and then just leave the room and go do something. So yeah, it's like this. It's a bit of a control thing. And they go back and forth on who they favor. How to teach a 6-year-old to be grateful. I haven't got a clue. You can teach them how to be polite, but grateful is an emotion. Gratitude is an emotion. So yeah, you can't. They can thank you for things when they get them, but you can't teach them how. The least grateful children are usually the most spoiled, by the way. Like I know when my kids got a treat, they were grateful because they hardly ever got them. I didn't like junk food. And also, if you ask for a treat, it's me filling a demand with garbage food. So I just didn't do it. I always said to my kids, if you ask, you get nothing. Like, because I hated getting treats when we were out. And but yeah, every so often I get them a treat, and they were grateful because they didn't get that many because I was really into health food, right? So thoughts on sugar. That's a nutrition thing, and I just sort of talked about it. I talk about what I did. But yeah, I don't know about, I'm not a nutritionist. And I'll tell you, I'm a gluten-free health food vegan. So I'm not looking for vegan donuts or anything. And is that the way to go? I don't know. It just works for me. I'm not a nutritionist. Nobody really knows what's absolutely best for you. So yeah, you just go with what feels right to you. You know, I certainly don't preach my way of eating. It's weird. It just works for me. I actually don't like sugar. I never did, even as a kid. It's okay. Sometimes, during that time of the month, I would crave it, but that was it. Now I'm too old for that anyway. So, yeah, I never liked sugar. As a kid, every kid would fight to sit beside me because they'd get all my icing off the cake. I would scrape it all off. I couldn't eat icing. Isn't that funny? What kid does that? I just never liked sugar. I would love salads, and I'm a salt tooth, not a sweet tooth. So like I didn't have a cavity till I was about 20 or something. My almost 5-year-old mouth spat, calls me an idiot when I tell him something he doesn't want. Okay, so that's you. That's your leadership. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're teaching parents. If you were a leader, that would never happen. They just don't talk like that to a leader. They look up to you. They want to please you because you make them feel good about themselves. A child who's acting like that has very low self-esteem, guaranteed 100%. Yeah, you can't feel good about yourself and talk to anybody like that. So yeah, work on your leadership. You can just get the free behavior board or check out the boot camp course. That's all about your leadership. Remember, you lead, they will follow. Their behavior between the ages of 3 and 12 years old is 100% a direct result of your parenting. That's when you're at the height of your leadership because they need a leader. They're looking for it. They need it. It's just part of their DNA. They need someone to guide them. So if you're not doing that, you're sending them out there in the world. They're very vulnerable. They're very susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to go searching out a leader elsewhere, but you want to be the leader at home. Okay, they'll tell you everything. They just do. They can't help themselves. Because you're that safe place to land. You're that person they trust right through the teen years. They'll tell you everything. You won't want to hear it all, but they'll tell you because they don't know how not to. Two-and-a-half-year-old has extreme tantrums, meltdowns. His doctor says it's normal, but he can go on for 3 hours crying. I'm guessing that because at the end of that 3 hours, you might give in and give him what he wants. Is that what happens? I don't know. I don't know. I have a tantrum busting course. You might want to try that out. If the doctor says it's normal, some kids will go for hours because they know eventually they'll get what they want. If you're really calmly, if you're a pleaser, oh, what do you want? What do you want? I've given you this. If you talk like that, yeah, they'll tantrum forever. If you're feeding it. Are you feeding the tantrum? Any attention is tantrum food. I'll tell you, God, I hate telling this story. I've told it so many times because I can't hear myself when I say it anymore. Okay, I'm going to have to tell you the swing story. It's the best tantrum story I have. Anyway, it's a true story. My son was 2 and he had tantrums. They're born to have them or they're not. Anyway, he kind of was catching on to Mom. I don't feed tantrums. So anyway, I took him down to the park and it was just me and him. He's 2 years old. And there was a new mom there. They just moved into the neighborhood. So I'd seen them around, but I hadn't met her before. She had a 2-year-old boy also. So we're both at the park at the same time, just the 4 of us. So we're like, hi, how are you? I'm Lisa. We're introducing ourselves. It's so exciting to meet another mom because you're so isolating when you're a mom, right? So, anyway, so we're chatting away and there's 2 swings, 2 2-year-old boys. So as we're talking, we're putting our little boys in the swings and they both start pointing to the other swing. So we're like, oh, let's just move. We're trying to chat, right? Let's just switch swings. Well, they both started having a tantrum. Like 2-year-olds, they're nuts, right? So anyway, this is how you do not handle a tantrum. She took her little boy over to the bench and the whole time he's tantruming, he's screaming, having a fit, she's talking to him. And you shouldn't have done that. Mommy loves you. Now let's talk about your feelings. I understand. And she was going on and on. 20 minutes it went on. It was absolute torture to watch. Then she did the biggest mistake. When he stopped having a tantrum, then she didn't reward the calm. I always say ignore the crazy and reward the calm. She kept punishing him. She kept talking about 10 minutes after the tantrum finished, she was discussing what he shouldn't have done, what he should have done, his feelings, all this. This kid went through torture 30 minutes. So did the mother. Anyway, this is what I did differently. So I took my son over to the bench at the same time she did. And he started to run back for the swing. I threw my arm out real fast to stop him. And he instantly sat back because he knows Mom. He knows I don't take any crap. So anyway, and he sat back and had his tantrum. And while he's tantruming, this is me. I'm looking up at the trees, completely ignoring him. But I'm right there. So I'm completely ignoring him. Now he was already catching on to this stuff. He knew what was going to happen if he stopped. So he eventually stopped. It's only a couple minutes, this one. He had bigger ones, but this was a quick one. So anyway, as soon as he stopped the tantrum, I turned to him and I said, oh, y'all done? You want to go back on the swing? And off we went. So it was all over. I ignore the crazy and reward the calm. He was starting to learn that there's a reward at the end of this crazy. The sooner I shut up, I'm going to get on that swing because he knows me. That kid, there was no reward for not having a tantrum. Plus, she was feeding it. Any attention is tantrum food. It makes it grow. When you ignore it, because they only tantrum for attention. And if they don't get attention during a tantrum, it kind of dies out, right? So anyway, that was, which bench would you rather be on? 2 minutes of a tantrum or 30 minutes of what was going on over there? They were miserable. By the time they got back on the swing, we were leaving and my kid was tired of swinging. So yeah, see the difference? Ignore the crazy, reward the calm. You don't do that with everything, but a tantrum is crazy. It's not an action. It's not a bad behavior. It's a loss of emotional control and not getting their own way. You do not need to validate that. Parents say, you got to validate all their feelings. That's garbage. You do not need to validate a tantrum. That is absolute crap. The fact that they don't like to hear the word no, you do not need to validate that feeling at all. At all. It's ridiculous. And and then parents have often argued, not so much anymore, but they used to argue with me. Well, then you're destroying his self-esteem if you're not validating all his feelings in that, which is garbage. But if your child is going to be damaged by having a tantrum ignored, you got bigger fish to fry. There is more things going on there because you're obviously not meeting their needs. I was meeting his needs. He knew he was acting crazy, and that's not going to get anywhere with me. So he realized I'm just going to stop. He just stopped having tantrums after a while. So anyway, does not damage them. If it does, there's something else wrong. You're not meeting their needs in other ways. Okay, I'm going to end with this last question because it's a good one. Not a lot of people ask about this. How do I teach my 8-year-old to deal with bullies? I used to be a mediator. I used to go into schools with my clients and mediate. This is when I used to coach in person sometimes. And I don't do that anymore, obviously. But anyway, it's all online. It's on Zoom. Anyway, so I used to go into the school in the principal's office, and we'd set up a meeting with the other parents, the bully parents, and my parents, the victim parents. And then we would meet it's usually the vice principal that does this stuff. So anyway, we'd meet in the office. And I said to my client before we went, I said, now, you do not say the word bully, bullies, bullying, bullied, nothing with the word bully in it. Nothing, because it just starts it off and it's just never going to go the way we want. We want to emphasize, let's get our kids to get along, right? That's what we want to do. Sure enough, I only did this maybe 3 or 4 times with clients. Every single time they said, your child's bullying my child. They just, because they'd never had access to this parent before and they couldn't wait to tell them off. And it was just a nightmare. So I never did that again. I realized that it's not the way to deal with it. But anyway, this is how I teach kids how to be bully proof. I was never bullied. My kids were never bullied. I'll tell you what I did. I just learned this organically. I was a pretty confident kid. But anyway, I got a mouth on me. Anyway, I was in grade 2 and I had to go to the bathroom, and I went in the middle of class, and I'd never been in the hallway when it was empty. It was really neat, grade 2 walk, it was all empty. But coming out of the principal's office down the hall, coming towards me, was the school bully. He was in grade 5. He was a big, scary kid. He was the school bully. He was nasty. Anyway, he sees me and he's licking his chops. It was like the OK Corral. And I'm like, ugh. So anyway, he comes right up in my face, and my last name was Hanky. He comes right in my face and he goes, Hanky Panky. And I said, I prefer Snot Rag and Boogie Bundle. Oh, well, got to get back to class. He never came near me again. The look on his face was, what? Why would he ever bully me ever again? So what I had done was I had agreed with him. I used humor, and then I gave him an exit. I got to get back to class. Those are the 3 things I teach kids how to do. I don't even know how I knew how to do that. But I was pretty confident, like I said. But anyway, but yeah, that's what I do. I do role playing. You do role playing with your child, and you say, okay, I'm going to be you and you be the bully. And here's how you do it. If he says something like, you got big ears, then you say, yeah, the whole family does. We call ourselves the Dumbos. Oh, well, what are you going to have for lunch? You have to agree with them, use humor if you can, and then redirect. Because if you don't do the redirect, they'll come at you again, because it kind of makes them feel like they have to come back and up it, right, to get to you. Whereas if you give them an out to save their pride, it's easier. So anyway, role play back and forth. You be the bully, and then go back and forth. They're the bully. But also when you're doing that, don't bully with what is actually being bullied about. Like don't do the theater, the play, the role playing with the real thing they're being bullied about, because words still hurt. So put on paint your nose red or something and laugh at that. So it's not something like if they do have big ears and that's what they're being teased about, don't do that with role playing. Put a party hat on and role play with that or something. You get where I'm going with that? Words still hurt. Even if you're role playing and they know you love them and all that, they still hurt. So, but anyway, that's how you treat bullying. Now, the thing is, if bullying's been going on for a long time, this may not work. But if it's the first time they're coming at this kid, it usually will work, because they'll just veer off to someone that cries, right? Because they're after the reaction. But yeah, if they don't get the reaction they want, they just move on to someone else. But if they've had the reaction from your kid, a lot of crying in the past, this might not work. Oops, I got to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, you can do so. It's Bratbusters Parenting on TikTok, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. And anyway, if you go on the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. You have to apply for coaching via email now because I'm really busy. I can't take people on every day. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and come on over to TikTok if you want. Happy parenting. Here we go. Huh. Okay. This is from Dearest Fandoms. I hope you're still here. If not, you might see it later. What do I do when I have given the big consequence, like 24-hour media blackout, and then my 5-year-old decides he's just not going to do his routines the rest of the time? Don't worry about, oh, sugar. Oh, just a sec. Instagram is the same shape. Instagram is asking me to do some questions before I can get on there. That was weird. Instagram or TikTok's never done that before. They asked me to do like verify I'm not a robot. Interesting. Okay, sorry about that. I'm going to read this again. What do I do when I have given the big consequence like 24-hour media blackout and then my 5-year-old decides he's just not going to do his routines the rest of the time? So in other words, he's going to be a nightmare for the rest of the day. That's okay. That's okay. Allow them to do this and get mad at you. Just say, well, that's why you got media blackout. You know, you could say that maybe once or twice. Don't go overboard with that. So yeah, they're going to be a nightmare. Often they are during that 24-hour media blackout because they're thinking, okay, I've got no media. I'm going to make your life a living hell. So they often do that. And that's okay. You can't double punish. You're already punishing. Say, well, you already got media blackout. Oh, well. The thing is that they're not going to want that media blackout again. So, but it's kind of a free reign. They kind of know that they got a lot of freedom once they got that media blackout because there's nothing else you can do. And that's okay. It's all part of it. We're not for the short game. We're here for the long game. Okay. So yeah, you're investing in tomorrow. Today is going to be difficult. I always warn people too, especially with coaching. I say the first week, the first maybe 2 weeks, you're not going to get any results at all. I'm teaching you. I'm setting you up for the results down the road. By the third session, that's when you usually start to see a little bit of this. I'm starting to get it. That's when you see it. But yeah, I have to set you up for it all, right? Yeah, this is from Heather. I have 2-year-old twin boys and they're not transitioning to twin beds. We'll wake each other up. Any tips? We're exhausted over here. Not really. Twins, I've actually worked with triplets before. Yeah, they're going to do that. The only thing that you can do is you can have one twin in their bedroom and the other twin in a bed in your bedroom, and then just do the bedtime routine. Check out the Bedtime Battles course that explains how you do that. And so they're not going to be able to wake each other up. And then eventually you'll transition them into their room. And you can switch each kid, like one night in your room, then the other one gets in your room the next night. So yeah, with triplets we've done that. It's worked, but it takes longer. I knew what you meant. They weren't in cribs anymore. I knew what you meant. Thoughts on public school social and emotional curriculum? What do you want? I don't know what you want from me. I don't know what you want. Besides, I don't discuss schools. That's not my business. I teach parenting. So huge portion of my clients are daycare workers, teachers, principals, and child psychologists. I couldn't do their jobs, and they struggle with parenting. Parenting is personal. It's different from school. A lot of stuff does cross over, but a lot doesn't. Okay? That's institution. That's business. This parenting is personal. It's quite different. Yeah. And some clients are sneaky. They'll tell, because they know I don't get hired by, I don't teach teaching or anything. Do you know, I've been hired by teachers and principals to manage schools or kids at school, but they pretend like they're their kids. They'll tell me later on. And some of the stuff does cross over, but some of it doesn't. I think that's funny. Anyway, one thing that doesn't, that it works beautifully in school and is a total disaster at home, is a reward chart. I can't stand them. In school, they work beautifully. They don't take it personally because that's an institution for one thing. And they got 30 kids and they're all on it, the reward chart. It works beautifully, okay, like a behavior reward chart. At home, you know the message you're sending with a reward chart at home, where it's just you and your kids and it's personal? What you're saying to them with a reward chart is this: you're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. You see the message you're sending? You're telling them they're rotten. A behavior board says, you're normally wonderful, but if you should happen to do something rotten, I know how to deal with it. Big deal. It's no big deal. See the difference? The subtlety? Kids pick up on that. A lot of parents have a reward chart and a behavior board going on when they hire me. I'm like, get rid of that reward chart right now. So yeah, we don't do that at all. Because also, I would never reward a child for being respectful. That's my baseline. You be nice. That's my baseline. I don't reward for that. Then they're going to grow up, and every time they do something nice, they go, where's my reward? As if that's something that should be, you get a gift every time you say please or thank you. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I was going to go on a huge rant about that. I'll save you from that. I hate reward charts. It's right up there with timeout. I hate timeout. I think it's horrible. Okay. I like this saying. I've never used it, but I like this saying. How do I know if it's a hill worth dying on? Husband thinks we need to correct every single thing. You do and you don't. Okay, hear me out. If you're picking a behavior that you want to work on, you have to address it every single time. Then you get that one sorted out, then you go on to the next. That's why on the behavior board, you've got one rule. I call them battles, one hill, right? So every single week you have a new one for 3 weeks, a new battle, one rule on each. And then the rest of the stuff you don't worry about. This is what parents do. Their kids are out of control. That's it, everything. I'm going to deal with everything today. Doesn't work that way. We pick one rule, one bad behavior per week, and we perfect that. We not so much that they're not doing it anymore, but you know how to deal with it. You know how to handle a consequence with that. And then the rest of the stuff, I don't care. Like, I don't care what happens. Parents are always kind of weirded out by that. You mean they can just kick and scream and do whatever? And I say, yeah, that's right, because I'm only focused on that one behavior board. I would deal with everything in day one. I've never used a behavior board. I would never do it. But I'm level 10 with what I teach. You're learning how to do this, okay? So yes, you do focus on one thing 100% of the time. But the rest of it, you don't have the energy for that. You don't have the skill level yet to do that. And it's done in a very specific way. But yeah, I don't teach that to anyone. I do sort of in week 4 in the boot camp. That's when that kicks in. It's called in the moment discipline. You don't need a behavior board in week 4. Yeah, in the moment discipline. You deal with everything as it happens, like that, and it's very quick. It's just done. But anyway, so yeah, you've got to be really consistent with one battle, but you don't pick all battles at once. The idea is that, let's say your kids are doing 50 things wrong. Now you've perfected week 1, that one battle. Okay, you've got that sorted out. You know how to deal with that. Week 2, now you got 2. Week 3, the other bad behaviors start to drop away when you become a leader, because this is all about your leadership. Once you become a leader, the bad behaviors just melt away. That's what parents say. They say, you're right. They all just kind of dropped away because they respect us. Once they respect you, they're good. They treat you well. You got to earn that, though. You got to work for that. It doesn't just get handed to you. You got to work for that. Consistency is everything. It takes about 5 weeks. That's why coaching is 5 weeks. The boot camp course is 5 weeks. It's a good 5 weeks. We can stretch it out to 6 or 7. But can't work any quicker than that. It takes about 5 weeks. And we start real slow. And then by week 3 and 4, it starts to get a bit easier. Week 1 and 2, I would say week 2 is probably one of the toughest. Am I on TikTok? Yeah, I think I am. Yeah, okay. I lose track of where I am. I'm just reading YouTube here. Okay, 11-year-old challenges my authority, rolls her eyes, refuses to do chores and homework, and can be mean to her 4-year-old sister. Check out the boot camp course. That's all about you. It goes up to 12 years old, and that's a good age to do it still, even if you have a 12-year-old, because it could actually go to 13 or 14, but I cut it off at 12. So yeah, check out the boot camp course, because that's attitude. You don't address attitude, by the way, but you can certainly address homework and chores. Yeah, I would do that. I might start with homework. Yeah, I would start with homework. Do your homework within 1 hour of being asked to do so, or do your homework every night at 6 or 7 or whatever. Get organized with this, okay? And then if they don't do it, there's a consequence, and you withhold the screens or media until the homework is done. So yeah, put on the behavior, do that, and then the consequence is they just don't get their screens until they've done it. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to do that. That's just one of them. What's the boot camp course? The boot camp course is all about your leadership. It starts with the behavior boards. There's 3 of them, and then you do in the moment discipline. And week 5 wraps it all up. That's for if you're just dealing with all the normal stuff, snotty attitude, tantrums. They're not doing their homework. They're not doing chores, so they just don't respect you. That goes from 3 to 12 years old, and it's 5 weeks, and it's all about you and your leadership. I know I took it's not even a year old now. I think I finished that course last July, and I brought a bunch of clients through it. They signed up for the course, and we went through it together. And they didn't make any changes. Like, I was surprised. I think there was like maybe 2 or 3 changes. But yeah, because I've been doing this for so long now, this coaching. So I kind of paced it out based on how coaching goes. And but yeah. People are getting success with it so long as you follow through on it. It's like anything. You've got to follow through. And a lot of people, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've heard people doing on that course is they go in too hard. They take the toughest thing that they want to deal with, and they do it in week 1. Start small and master that behavior board, how to make it work. I don't care if the kids are breaking the rules. That's not a failure. The failure is if you don't follow through with it. That's the failure. And most parents are going to mess up, right? You're going to mess up. But start small. Start with something you think you can manage. If you hire me, we might go in with the toughest thing first. But then I know in week 2, I know how to use that to our advantage. But you don't do that if you're doing the boot camp course on your own. But yeah, no, it's going really well. Lots of people are telling me it's working. What was I going to say about that? No, nothing. No, nothing. I didn't tell you this story on TikTok. I just want to tell it again. I told it on Facebook. Sorry, YouTube, you'll hear it again. I told it on Facebook and then on Instagram, and I'm going to tell it here. I saw my granddaughter. She's 2 months old. So it was just me and my future daughter-in-law there. And she's such a good mom. Anyway, she's loving it. And this little daughter, her daughter, my granddaughter, she likes to be walked. When she's fussy and she doesn't want to fall, she needed a nap, but she was fighting it. You know, some of them do, right? So anyway, she likes to be walked, and she likes to be held a certain way, and you got to walk with her. And as soon as you stop, she has a fit. So about an hour of this, I thought, she's only 2 months old. I got a lot of experience. I can outsmart her. So I thought, if I stand and just rock her and stomp my feet a little bit like I'm walking, she'll think I'm walking. She started screaming right away. I thought, wow, grandma cannot outsmart a 2-month-old. 63-year-old cannot outsmart a 2-year-old or a 2-month-old. I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, so yeah, it was lots of fun. She's just adorable. She's just adorable. It's funny with grandkids because they're not yours, but you just still have that same protective feeling towards them. Yeah, I love being a grandmother. She's adorable. Children who are almost teens, so tweens, nice and respectful to everyone but those in our home. Why? Well, because there's social pressure. It's embarrassing. They're very comfortable with you. They're not embarrassed to be snotty to you. Of course, we're all going to be a bit more ourselves or not at our best when we're around people that we live with and we're really comfortable with. That's why. But are they rude? That's a bit different. But yeah, that's why. It's comfort. Have you ever dealt with children with FAS? Fetal alcohol syndrome, is that what that is? Yeah, I have. Their problem is lack of impulse control. And it's difficult. That can go on for the rest of their lives. They just have to learn some techniques that might work. And they're all different. So yeah, I have NAS babies too. Years ago, I used to volunteer. I volunteered everywhere. And one of them was in it was a hospital, but it was a permanent residence for children who were, at the worst sort of thing, like they weren't responsive in any way. But one of the departments that I worked in, that I was volunteering in, was the ones with NAS babies, narcotic addiction syndrome. And I remember the first time I held one of them, I think they couldn't be held. The nurses could change their diapers and that, but they couldn't be picked up or you couldn't do anything with them. Any stimulus they could have a seizure, right? So they put this little thing in my arms, and they took the mask off because they have to keep their eyes closed. And they took the mask off and they said, okay, you can't hold her by your heart because the heartbeat would upset her. You can't breathe on her and you can't look at her or talk. So I don't remember how they did it, but it was just the weirdest thing. I had to sit completely still, not breathing on her, looking at her, talking. Isn't that bizarre? Because they're so jittery, and so that was my first experience with that. So then, since then, as you know, that was when I was like in my 20s, and then since my business, yes, I have worked with kids. Their lack of impulse control is the biggest challenge. They just can't help themselves. So, but they can learn some coping mechanisms. But it's something they're always going to have to be careful with. And I hope that was fetal alcohol syndrome, because I know there's all different acronyms for different things. One time I went off on a tangent about something and I thought it was one thing, and they said, actually, we meant this. It's kind of embarrassing. I don't embarrass easy, but it was a little bit embarrassing. Okay. Would you recommend a total screen time use for the week or a daily time better? He's almost 10. So I talk about media management a lot, and there's 3 different ways you can do it. They're not, none of them are bad, but I prefer the last one I'll tell you. The first one is you have an allotted time every single day. So it could be 7 to 9 every single day, or 7 to 8, whatever. And then the next one is, okay, you have 1 hour a day, so they can decide when that is. You're kind of micromanaging that. The last one is the one I like. I would say something like this. You got 10 hours a week, you decide when to do it, when it's appropriate. They can't get up at 2 in the morning, but you get the idea. So they manage it, and you just keep track of it. You're the scorekeeper. You're not managing it. They are. So then you keep track of the minutes. So you keep track of all the minutes. So that's what, 600 minutes. So you keep track of that. And as soon as it's used up, that's it. They're done. The only thing that I do, if they've got a friend invited over for game time, it's restricted. They can't go on it for hours and hours, but they can have an hour if they have friends over. And that's okay. They can go over, but that goes into the next week's time. So they can't fool the system, because one of my clients, their kid was clever and had a friend over every single day so they could get extra time. And then it just got ridiculous. So I said, no, they can't do that all the time. Yeah, they'll try and work the system. But anyway, and also family movie night doesn't count. So if the whole family's sitting watching a movie, that doesn't count as their screen time. So yeah, I like them to manage stuff. I don't like to micromanage kids. I like them to learn how to manage themselves. And that's a really good place to start. Any advice on potty training? I have a whole course on that. It's a whole system. It's one of my mini toddler courses in the link above. It's called Potty Party or something. I don't know. It's a party, just you and your kids. It's a messy party, but it's a party. I trained my son at 2.5. He was 1 day. My daughter was 2 days. No pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. But I took that porta potty everywhere. I'll tell you a funny story. After my son was trained, he was really easy with it. And after he was trained, and plus I was kind of already a leader, so I had a bit of an edge. They kind of listened to me, right? If they don't, it's a really good way to start exercising your leadership, because it's very organized. It's a system. So it's a really good way so it might take longer, but it's a good way to start exercising some leadership skills. But I already kind of had the leadership a little bit cemented there, so it made it easier. Anyway, they were 2.5 each. It's a good time to potty train, and they're all different. Might be 1.5, might be 3. I don't know. Anyway, about a few days after he was potty trained, I went to the supermarket, and I made sure I didn't give him anything to drink before we went. And I made sure he'd gone to the bathroom before we went. And I did have the porta potty in the car. Anyway, we're at the checkout at the supermarket, and he says, I have to poo. And I'm like, and you know when they say that, they have to go. And I went like, and the checkout lady said, just take him and run. I'll pack up all your that was a regular there. We'll pack up all your groceries. So, but I said to him, can you just wait a second? I'm almost finished here. And he goes, I have to go poo now. And when they say that, well, this is in Australia where I raised my kids. And in Australia, the supermarkets are not freestanding. They're inside of a mall. And the bathroom at the supermarket for the mall was at the other end of the mall. I got him out of that the shopping cart, and I held on to him. I think I held on to his bum too, because he had no nappies on, right? He had no pull-up on. And so I took off for the bathroom, and I held him over the toilet, and he went. We have a public toilet with a little one. Anyway, I held him over, and he went. I lucked out. But yeah, and I went back, and all my groceries were all packed up for me. They were just lovely. But yeah, it's an experience. Okay, I think I'm going to get going now. My voice, I got a sore throat today. I don't know why, it's bugging me. Anyway, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. And if you check out the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. It's all focused on you and your leadership. You lead, they will follow. It's just a natural instinct. And then the coaching. That's if you have teenagers, or if you're next level red zone stuff or things are really out of control, look into coaching. I don't have the time with my schedule these days to take on everybody, but you can apply for coaching. And if you're in crisis, that's my first priority, but you have to put that in the subject line. Crisis is not a 4-year-old having a tantrum every day. It's the life and death stuff with teenagers or children who've been through some big trauma. So, because that's teenagers are my specialty. But anyway, so check that out. And anyway, happy parenting. Bye now.